So Apple's battery life claims are kind of confusing. On the one hand, they claim that the iPhone 14 Plus has the best battery life on any iPhone. But then on their websites, they clearly give that title to the 14 Pro Max, saying that it lasts 3 hours longer than the 14 Plus. It's the same story with the 14 Pro versus the standard iPhone 14, where Apple's website can kind of lead people to believe that the more expensive Pro models offer significantly better battery life. But here's the thing, while Apple's tests are well controlled and no doubt accurate, they aren't the most comprehensive, since the test is basically made up of simply playing back videos and waiting until the phones die, which obviously playing back videos isn't the only thing that people do with their phones. So today, we're gonna get to the bottom of it, putting every new iPhone 14 through a battery of tests, from phone calls and texting to simulated navigation and listening to music, to see how each new iPhone actually stacks up. This episode is sponsored by Raid: Shadow Legends, a massively popular mobile game with 3 big reasons to play. Number 1, Raid has a storyline that is fully voiceovered. Number 2, there are giant boss fights. And number 3, there are hundreds of champions that you can collect and customize. And right now, Raid is actually running a trick-or-treat promotion for Halloween, where new players have a chance to win a bunch of in-game prizes as well as $1,000 Amazon gift cards. This event is only running until November 5th though, so download Raid with the link in the description and then head over to trickortreat.plarium.com to enter, or just scan the QR code here or the links below, where new players get unique bonuses worth $30, including a new champion in Ana, which you can unlock right here in the app. Alright, we'll kick things off in the phone test, where all 4 are going on the same 1-hour phone call, where 60 minutes into it, the iPhone 14 and the 14 Pro only drop by a single percentage point, while the big boys are still reporting that they have 100% battery remaining. Now, that phone call had to have taxed the batteries on the big phones at least by a little. So we'll see how they do here in the messaging test, where they're texting back and forth with our automated chatbot. And this time, all of the phones see a bigger drop. The iPhone 14 has the biggest one at 8 points, while the Pro Max does the best here with just a 5-point drop. Now, what was interesting there is both of the Pro models did better than their non-Pro counterparts, which I think could have been due to their more efficient displays, which ramp themselves down to as low as 10 Hz when there's nothing really going on screen, whereas the non-Pro iPhones obviously are stuck at 60 Hz. But at least here in the email test, where we were scrolling a lot throughout these emails, the displays didn't seem to make a difference, with the iPhone 14 actually doing better than the 14 Pro, while the 14 Pro Max did better than the 14 Plus. So a bit of a mixed result. Here in the browser, for the first time in this battery test, we're actually putting those CPUs to work, loading up the same set of websites, where it'll be interesting to see if the A16 chip instead of the Pro models give them some sort of advantage over the A15 chip in the non-Pro models. But after an hour, that doesn't really seem to be the case, with us getting mixed results once again. Meaning, at least when it comes to loading up websites, the A16 doesn't seem any more efficient than the A15, which is a little surprising. Anyways, here in Instagram, after scrolling through the home feed for an entire hour, the 14 Pro Max does the best, with it pulling 2 points ahead of the 14 Plus and a whopping 8 points ahead of the last place iPhone 14. Moving on to the standby test, we chose to disable the always on display modes for the Pro models here just to keep everything fair. We'll do a separate always on display battery test later, but after 16 hours with their screens off the entire time, both of the Pro models did significantly worse here. The 14 Pro does 4 points worse than the standard iPhone 14, while the 14 Pro Max does 3 points worse than the 14 Plus. I don't know if this is an optimization thing with the A16 or what, but it allows the standard iPhone 14 to pull 3 points ahead of the 14 Pro and the 14 Plus 1 point ahead of the 14 Pro Max. But here in YouTube, I expect the Pro models to kind of recover, since their screens could ramp down to as low as 24 Hz to match the video frame rates, while again, the non-Pros are stuck at 60 Hz. And after an hour, that's pretty much what we see, with the Pro models each doing 1 point better than their non-Pro counterparts. So heading into the gaming test, it's pretty close, at least respective to size. The 14 and the 14 Pro are separated by just 2 points, while the big boys are fully tied. And after 60 minutes of playing Alto's Adventure, it's basically the same story. We'll see if one of these phones can create some real separation here in the simulated navigation test, but no, the phones are now even closer than before, and with us just now jumping into Spotify, where all 4 have been calibrated to the same volume level. After another hour, it's all tied up. The smaller iPhones are both at 13%, while the bigger ones have over twice as much at 29%. We'll see how long those smaller iPhones can last here in this intensive camera/Snapchat test, where the iPhone 14 is the first to die, lasting 43 minutes into this test, with the iPhone 14 Pro managing just to go 4 minutes longer. So there you have it. The bigger iPhone 14s both have 18% at the point at which the smaller iPhones die. This is enough to get them through Snapchat with 15% and onto the app cycle test, where we're opening and closing the same set of apps in a loop. And marking their consistency, they both go for an additional hour and 38 minutes, with the iPhone Pro Max's camera actually running out of memory, with us having to switch to our backup camera. So impressive battery life across the board. To be honest, the smaller iPhones outlast phones like Samsung's Galaxy S22 Ultra, while the bigger iPhone 14s tie for second overall in our battery test rankings. Anyways, that is it for me in this video. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the very next episode.